My parents were actually the ones that purchased the car for me. And it's not that they had a lot of money and could just buy a car, but they did, and they did it for me and my children. And then when it was time to upgrade, they had always told me they wanted me to sell the car, use it for a trade-in. It made such a big difference to have a reliable car. It wasn't wondering how I was going to get to work. If my kids were sick, how do you pick them up? To get groceries, to be able to fill the trunk that was very good sized. Be able to put a bike rack on the back of the car and take my kids to ride the Hiawatha Trail. That was an amazing trip. Oh, I think it's fantastic that MAC has a garage to help single moms. I didn't really know about it during the time I was a single mom. I had heard of it, but I just didn't really ever know. I didn't know how to check my own tire pressure till recently. Just was beyond me. I wasn't raised to take care of my tire pressure or changing my oil. When we had brought the car up to MAC, my mom asked me on the phone that day if we had gotten rid of the car yet, and I said yes. And she asked if we sold it, and I said yes. And she asked what we got for it, and I hesitated, and I said market value. And my mom and I kept talking for a while, and then I felt horrible that I had lied to my mother. And I told her the truth of what we did with the car and that we weren't telling people. And my mom went silent. And we had gotten off the phone, and I felt like my mom was so upset with me. And she called me later that night, and her and my stepdad had discussed it, and they were so happy that we had listened to God and that we had this going forward, that we were going to give the blessing to somebody else that was in my position that I had been in before. This car came to me during a very difficult time in my life. This was my single mom car. It was such a blessing for me. My previous car was totaled after another driver hit me at an intersection and they drove off. I had only liability insurance and did not make enough money to afford a car payment. This car was so reliable, it took my kids and I everywhere we needed to go, and I will miss it. I recently was able to purchase a bigger vehicle and was getting ready to sell this car. The idea of selling it was stressing me out, so I gave my worry to God and asked what I should do. The answer I received was something I had not thought of. Call MAC and ask if they have a need for it. I was so filled with joy when they told me that they knew of a good home for my car. I hope this car is the blessing for you that it was for me.